morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for spending time with us today. First, I'd like to say, what is up? Shop at Moco. I know that we're usually on live. We appreciate y'all showing us on the big screen. Thank you very, very much. I am your Texas card dude. We also have Mr. Jeremy, Mr. Jeff. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
I know it's early, and bear with me. I've had 2 cups of coffee already this morning, so sorry in advance.
I'm on cup number 1 still, Brad.
Yeah, I'm sucking down my first Starbucks, so
we're
all right there trying to catch up to you this morning.
Unfortunately, I spent last night at my mom's house, and then got home and jumped in the hot tub. So my quick side note, my dad was a pack rat, so I went upstairs into the attic and pulled down 7 boxes of collectibles from the attic, and once we got them down and started digging through it, it filled up an entire room. But however, I immediately jumped into the hot tub and took some leave last night, and I knew I had this morning, so I had to just I had an early start to go.
Cheers.
So, Jeff, how was your week?
It's been normal, busy, man. Just I do sales. I run a company, run a business, do kind of customer service sales, kind of do a whole bunch of just about everything. So it's always good to get to the weekend. It's always good to hit Friday. Usually pretty burnt and spent out by then, but just happy to be here. Happy to be on another show. Missed you guys, and yeah, hope everything's been good with everybody else. So,
what about you, Mr. Jeremy? How was your week?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I had a busy week, like most people, I suppose, but I picked up this big collection a couple Sundays ago. It's sitting right there in those boxes. That thing actually is goes pretty deep.
Oh.
And, yeah, it was a one of the bigger sort of collection buys I've ever had, and so I've very slowly started to find some new homes for some of these cards. So I got to meet a couple of collectors this week and place some cards into some wonderful collections. So that was exciting.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Anything in there interesting that you were like, oh, this is kind of cool? Any like hidden coolness in there?
There's lots of hidden coolness in there.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
It's interesting. The gentleman who collected, he's a local collector. He's been collecting for 20 years probably, and he's no online presence at all. Just a local guy, a trade night guy, and he just one day decided. I saw him at a local show a couple weeks ago, and he decided that. Or when he realized what had happened to the hobby, because again, no online presence, didn't really understand what had happened. When I saw him at the show and we started talking, I said, "Oh yeah, that card you have." He's like, "How much is my Nathan McKinnon Young Guns PSA 10 worth?" Like $300-400. I go, "No, that's almost $2,000 now." And he's like, "Woo!" Really? Like he had no idea what was happening. So I explained it to him. He's like, "Well, maybe I should sell." I said, "Well, if you want, maybe I should buy." And
there you go.
We made the deal, and it's a deep collect. It's all hockey, he's a local guy up here in Calgary, but there's a Gretzky rookie, there's a Crosby rookie, Ovechkin, McDavid among his whole collection. Have you heard of Prime Colors patches? They're they're the full card is the patch.
Oh yeah.
He had 400 of those.
Wow.
That was his thing. And I had got many of them for him over the years. I'd go to the card shows and find them for him across, North America or whatever. And it's funny when you buy a collection from someone that you've been supplying for so long, you buy back a lot of the cards that you originally had. So it was nice to rediscover a bunch of cards that I had sold him in the first place.
So would you say that McKinnon was probably the top highlight card, or what would be so far from what you've seen or gone through? What's probably the biggest or coolest card you would say?
Oh man, you know what? I actually pulled I actually pulled out the best cards because
Yes, please show. Please show. Please show.
I'll show you what I'll show this
and
card.
tell.
I don't know if I should show this card. It's an
Yes.
absolute crazy card. I mean, the collection is deep, but let me find the one that. So you've all heard of Alexander Ovechkin, I presume.
Oh yeah.
No, that loser.
So he had these prime colors patches. So there's one of them. Okay, this is what they kind of look like.
Oh, that's nasty.
No, well, yeah, that's nasty. But how about this one?
Oh, that's dirty.
Wow.
That's not
filthy dirty.
Wow.
And then there's this one, which I think is just one of the best cards ever made.
Oh,
wow.
that is
the
gorgeous.
prime part of the logo.
Isn't
Wow.
that crazy?
Oh.
That's beautiful.
Wait. Let me get. Hold on. I gotta. Oh,
There's
gorgeous.
Gretzky autographs, Gordie Howe autographs. It's a deep collection. That's a Gretzky autograph right there. That was in the collection. Sorry, the lighting doesn't work. Here's one out of 5. So
jeez.
yeah, it was a crazy collection that's a lot of fun to go through and has stocked me up with some card showcase eye candy now for the next year and a half.
So real quick, we are going to get to your question, JJ. I did see that, so give us just a second. Now, when you find something really awesome like this, it's cool to talk about it. But I am going to jump in and we are going to talk about your question here in just a second. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, basically what I was just going to ask him is, so has it been a while since you've, bought into, I know you said you haven't bought a collection this size or this extent for some time. Has it been a while since you've done that? Just on any level, like a smaller collection from somebody to the larger.
No, I buy collections, I want to say regularly, but it's really sporadic as you can imagine. This was based on my network and my relationships, and he actually kind of wanted to work with me on the deal, and it always helps if you're in a position to pay, if you money talks a lot of the time. So, but I run we don't have Craigslist up here. We have something called Kijiji, and so I run every so often. I run an ad, just like I put a picture of a Gretzky rookie and I say buying Gretzky rookies and hockey cards, and I get calls that way to which brings the odd collection into my way. But of course, as everybody watching knows, we're all hobby nerds, right? Anytime somebody in our circles of life know of somebody or themselves are looking to sell cards, or they know someone who has cards to sell, they call you, right? Because you're the guy in your in your group of friends and family. So I get those calls all the time too, and I'd say I'm lucky enough to buy a nice collection. Let's say $1,000 and up sort of thing every I don't know, maybe a half a dozen times a year, that kind of thing. I'm not one of these guys that's out there hustling every day looking to buy collections.
This one just looks like a gold mine. Like,
I know. Good grief.
Oh, it's amazing. It's
like, how many times do we see, and I'm sure you've been in this situation too, and I have, where you go in kind of blind, you kind of go through a few boxes or whatever, someone's selling a thing, and once you get through it all, there's really not much of anything. It's all more for getting rid of the set builders and whatever, You
mean 1990s tops, 91 Fleer?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Team. This was the collection where, again, we have a local card shop here that's been holding a trade night for almost 20 years, probably. He does it on the third Wednesday of every month, up until pandemic, of course. And myself and the guy I bought this collection from, we call him the Baron. We call him the Baron. He's been known as the Baron in our local hobby culture for years now. And so he'd be at these trade nights and he'd open a pack of this, a pack of that, go into do a pack wars, to do one of these draft breaks where they'd open 6 boxes of cards and then draft order and pick one card and that. So I'd seen, and I don't participate in those things very often, if ever, but I'd seen him do this, and hey, Jeremy, look at this one, pretty nice, right? I go, that's a nice card, Baron, nice card. It's this box it's pretty nuts. Yeah,
It
I was
is.
pretty happy to like I don't know. Here's a Sidney Crosby signature patch from 0809.
Wow.
Beautiful
Yeah.
card.
That's
Clean.
insane.
Connor McDavid jersey sticker autograph.
It's all very well
Oh,
taken care of too, like a collector that actually really took.
of thoughts. Jeff, you want to
So
start?
yeah, I mean, so I think as any player on kind of any team, whether that team is heating up or whether that player is really getting hot and doing some pretty crazy things and drawing a lot of eyes and a lot of attention, obviously it's going to bring that increased love. I think it's helping him, and it's obviously that you're seeing an increase in that because of that. But I think one of the downsides again is with a lot of these players, they get stuck in kind of who they're with and what team they're on, whether it's a streak or whether it's, they're winning a ton of games. If they're still not in the right market or they're in that area, they don't really draw that enough of that attention. I mean, and it depends on who you are and how you want to look at attention or I guess popularity, right? It's kind of the demand for it. The more demand, the more people are looking for them, the more that kind of upticks. So it's obviously helping him, but could you imagine like if Arenado was on like the New York Yankees per
Oh
se?
my
That's kind of what I'm
gosh,
thinking here,
yeah.
right? Like a big market team. I think it would be that much more, insane as far as people looking for him and kind of the demand, if you will, if you want to call it that, for Arenado cards and just Arenado, you know,
Yeah.
find them, whatever. So
I you know, I love Arenado.
yeah,
I think he's so one of those underrated hidden gems in the hobby that I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Why isn't this guy getting his due?
the
Because in the sports
Rockies
world, he does.
cards,
In
like
sports world, everybody, I mean, those who follow baseball know this dude, and they're like, anytime you mention him, they're like, oh yeah. But for some reason, you get it in you come up at the wrong time, or you come up on the wrong team.
mhm.
It's maddening. I mean, look at Adolis Garcia, who's making a huge run as a Ranger
Right.
for Rookie of the Year. I
Yep.
mean, in baseball, they know who they are, but in the card world, it's like, who's this dude?
Right.
So I completely understand it, and it's very prevalent in the NHL, Jeremy, especially down here with them not being a lot of huge guys, unless it's an Ovechkin or something like that know about hockey or anything like that. I mean, how's that? Is baseball that, like, does it flip in Canada where baseball is like, meh?
No, baseball is actually the thing about Canada and baseball and Canada and basketball is that we only have one team up here. We have the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Blue Jays. Of
Yeah.
course, we used to have the Montreal Expos.
Great
And
team.
you will find fans of those teams across this country, especially when bandwagons happen and they're successful. All of a sudden, their fans aren't just contained to one city or one province, like Ontario.
Right.
It's the whole country. So we're 35 million people in Canada,
Mhm.
and those might be the biggest market teams in
Yeah.
all of basketball and baseball, because
Right.
they don't just draw from their own city. They draw from the whole country, because that's all we have. And Canada loves NFL, Canada loves MLB, NBA, and of course NHL. But so I saw someone was on some show recently this past week. Someone was talking about the love that the Blue Jays get. And
Yeah.
someone made the comment, well, that it's a small market, but it's not really a small market.
No.
Toronto's a major city, but it's
Right.
not just contained to that city. The whole country wants to collect, all the young guys, Guerrero and Bichette and all these young guys, and
Right.
of course the Raptors are huge up here. So
Yeah.
And then you got everybody else, like, within each state in the U.S. that, either they're bandwagon or they're just, they've been a Blue Jays fan because they have some connection, whether it was a relative or someone, a father who was a big fan that connected back when, and then they became fans, whatever. So, yeah, I can see where
The
that
Jays have a huge
big
following here
impact.
in Dallas and in Texas because of Vernon Wells back in the day, Torrey Hunter, and both the Guerreros. All three of those have Texas and Dallas ties. So Toronto here is like I think Toronto's more loved here than, unfortunately, the Rangers.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind are all the snowbirds, right?
Yeah.
Canada, because of the climate, we lose, I don't know how many people, and of course it's fewer in recent years, but thousands and thousands of people go spend their winters down in Florida and Arizona. Well, what goes on in Florida and Arizona, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's
so
right.
you've got a lot of baseball fans down there who go there, watch spring league, and are fans of the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
And of course the Raptors.
Yep.
Right. And just
So what
going
else?
back on the Arenado thing real quick, one thing that's I find interesting too, and anytime a player makes a change from one team to another, there's always that talk of, can they individually perform on that same level? And I think there was a lot of speculation or a lot of people kind of questioning because he's not in Colorado anymore, where that's kind of the home run park, if you will. That's kind of, as a DFS player, anybody else that I would play DFS against or be in competition, contest with per se. Anytime there's a game in Colorado, it's heavy ownership on the teams that are playing in Colorado because due to the impact of the field and everything else and the ability of hitting home runs. But I would tell you that I would say, I mean, if you look at Arenado's numbers, his first year in St. Louis, he did start off a little slow, but he's right where where he's always been, and he's not in Colorado anymore. So that should show people as well that, it wasn't just the park that was making his numbers
Yes.
stick and be where they were, his home run numbers, etc. St. Louis is another park where it can be a little hitter friendly, but it's nowhere near what Colorado's stadium is. I mean, nowhere near. So,
Well, I'll ask you this. Let's follow that train of thought with Colorado. What do you think about Todd Helton being a Hall of Famer?
I mean, I think it's kind of like, I don't know. It's one of those things where there's a few of these players that, get brought in or get talked about or possibly going into, and you always kind of question, like you're questioning now, right? Like, do we think he should be
Yeah.
in? Do we think he should, be a Hall of Famer? And, I guess at the end of the day, our opinions, it doesn't really matter, right? It's from the committees. It's from the people who vote him in. It's people who decide who's going where. WAR, we're not going to get into stats and all that, but WAR is always a statistic that always comes up in baseball, and a lot of people would say that WAR is kind of a meaningless stat. Someone with a good WAR overall, if you look at their numbers just in a nutshell or across the board, maybe don't really match up to some other players through the same history and don't even get talked about or don't even get mentioned to be in the Hall of Fame or be a Hall of Famer. So I don't know. I don't really have a good answer on a Todd Helton, to be honest with you. Todd Helton wasn't a player that I personally really ever followed or really ever watched much of, I guess. So
yeah, just an offshoot. I was reading an article earlier this week about, the NFL announced its Hall of Fame class. So I started digging into all of that, and then all of a sudden I pulled into an article that was talking about MLB, and then Todd Helton's name came up, and I'm like, man, I don't know.
Right.
It was like maybe down the line, first ballot, no, but down the line, and I'm sure, Jeremy, there's guys. I didn't look at the hockey one that's upcoming, but I'm sure there's guys that are like, man, great.
Yeah, any
stats,
guys you scratch your head at, like for Hockey Hall of Fame, and go, what? Like,
Yeah, always that at every sport, right, guys? Every
Yeah.
sport for that, for sure there are. And there's also the guys that you're like, well, how are they not in yet? No,
right,
I'd have to go look at a list to be able to put
right,
names to these thoughts. But yeah, every year you're like, really, that person made it in? Maybe not every year. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it's a slam dunk, right?
right.
Sometimes it's a no brainer. But sometimes you are like, how does that guy get in? I know up here we were happy to see Larry Walker get in. That was a nice one.
Yes.
For All in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that's deserving. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So,
you noticed that you said Larry Walker, and we all went, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's, to me, that's the litmus test, and that's, I was going, and whenever you do that,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, you're like, oh my gosh. Well, we could segue into it into Bills talk and Buffalo Bills talk. Man, do you want the Bills back into their Canada area, or do you want them to? Because I know that the Buffalo Bills have a love following in the Canadian provinces. There you go, provinces. I used the right word.
Not
Yeah.
Providence. That's a city in Rhode Island. You're talking about province.
Okay, well, see, we say Providence down here.
But how about this guy in Canada that knows that Providence is a city in Rhode Island? You want to know how I know that? There's a minor league hockey team there. That's how I know that Providence is a city in Rhode Island.
There you go.
Yeah, the thing about the NFL up in Canada is that there's no one team that everybody cheers for. But make no mistake about it, there is no shortage of NFL fans up here. I don't want to say it's as big in Canada, the NFL, as it is in the United States, but it's close.
Yeah.
Like, people live and die for NFL football up here, just like they do down there. And as far as a team, it really depends. Like, you got to keep in mind, Canada spans the West Coast to the East Coast, and then some on top of the U.S. So you've got tons of Seattle fans, a ton of Seattle fans in Vancouver. That's their team. The East Coast, it's the Buffalo Bills. And then there's a lot of Cowboys fans. There's a lot of Patriots fans, all the usual suspects. I know a ton of Steelers fans, tons of Steelers fans. That's that team, even the Eagles, ton of Eagle fans, Vikings fans in Central Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't forget the Eagles. I don't know that.
Yeah.
As he sips his
It's that NFC East rivalry, man. I hate the Deadskins. I'm not a fan. I do not like the Eagles.
Either one player's stepping on the star, or another guy, or the crowd's throwing beer bottles at the players, right?
Or somebody
on the
stepping
opposite
on
team.
somebody's face, or
Right.
That's the thing, right, guys? Even the Green Bay Packers is that there's just so many teams that have fans up here. But to your question, Brad, as far as Buffalo, yeah, like, it would be, first of all, Canada wants to have an NFL team. Will that ever happen? I don't know. Maybe baseball has one, basketball has one, maybe, and if it happens, it'll probably be Toronto. That's the logical city.
Makes sense.
That's our biggest city, right? So hopefully one day. But it's even gambling. Like, Canada recently made it legal for, like, we have a government gambling system up here where you can go into a 7-Eleven and buy a Sports Select ticket, but it always was a parlay. They've now legalized single game betting for the first time. So that's going to make it more exciting. Of course, DFS is huge up here. Fantasy is huge. Yeah. It's all huge. Like,
so you can actually go into, like, gas stations and like gamble on games. That's crazy.
Dude,
they need to do that here when they get, like, into the States where they're allowing that. Like,
for years, guys. Yeah, there's been Sports Select up for over 20 years, probably 25 years. You can go in and you'd have to pick a three minimum games in order, and you could bet anywhere from $2 and up, and it would automatically calculate your odds and spit out your ticket.
Wow, that's cool. That's really
cool. You can only either do that in, like, casinos that have it in the States that allow it for, like, the game gambling. See, what's crazy is, like, here in Minnesota, we can play DFS, but we can't do, like, I can't go on, like, even with DraftKings or FanDuel, I can't go on their casino side or their game betting side. I can only, because Minnesota's, that's how the laws are. I can only play daily fantasy sports. It's just
Yeah, well,
weird. It's like you're allowing one thing, but it's just I know there's different rules and regulations, but
well,
still,
you
it seems
remember
weird.
you remember when the black in the online poker world there was that Black Friday when they
Oh
shut
yeah,
down all the poker
Yeah.
stars
Yeah.
and all that.
Yep.
Well, it didn't happen up here. We could still play. So the
Wow.
laws there's just different. We're on different laws, of course,
Right.
for all this stuff.
That's interesting. I never knew that. Going to a gas station, I'd love that.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be
talk about-
awesome.
Let's talk about
So
a
awesome.
little bit more hockey for a second. That's card related. So, and I was fidgeting around for my note. Jeremy, did you see where in New York the NHL and Fanatics are now putting together a great big huge NHL 9,000 square foot NHL shop right next to Madison Square Garden? Did you hear that?
I did not see that. What is it?
Wow.
So it's mostly for apparel and trinkets and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just a great big huge NHL show. I want to say it's like 9,000 square feet or something like that. It's huge. Let me see. Is this it? Just whole thing.
So it's all just
Yeah, here
Fanatics
it
like
is.
hockey. That's
Yeah,
it.
Fanatics opens a new flagship retail store in New York City. It's at 9th and 3rd, right next to the Garden. It's
You
a
gotta wonder.
9,000.
Gotta wonder what's going to happen, Brad, with
There-
with
yeah,
the
there you
NHL,
go.
right? I mean,
That's
and
where
I
I
don't know
wanted
if you
to talk.
guys, I don't know if you guys heard this or saw this, but Ken Golden, this is newsworthy. Ken Golden had DJ Kazmierzik on his Instagram live a couple days ago.
Okay.
Interviewed him, and the biggest takeaway from that from I didn't watch the whole thing, but I've listened to some people who did. And one of the takeaways was that what DJ said, and I can't verify this, but DJ said this or something very similar. So I am paraphrasing. He said that that the only entity that has made an announcement with respect to the Fanatics licensing deals is MLB and or MLBPA, whichever one he said. No, he said no other entity has made an announcement, including Fanatics, including NBA, including NFL. So and apparently in that interview that Ken Golden did with DJ, that was something that DJ made very certain to get that message across. So kind of, not saying anything isn't happening at all, just saying that, there's still so much more information still to come out, including, and what I'm wondering is what's going to happen, assuming all this stuff is true and we have no reason to believe it isn't, right. What's happening with NHL, the NHL licenses and with Upper Deck, and is Fanatics going to kind of close the loop and grab hockey too, even though hockey, I think has been surpassed by soccer,
right?
But in any event, that's something that has myself wondering, in all this stuff, where's hockey in all this, or is it just not big enough to be on the radar?
So does anybody know like when the licensing is up, like with Upper Deck in NHL or any of that? I mean, do we know any? I mean, is it coming up? Is it soon? Is it years out?
I don't know, but it doesn't. I don't know. It's a great question, but I don't know that it even really matters because it didn't for baseball,
right?
Right. For basketball
right.
and football, they're 4 or 5 years out. So
right.
Is it relevant? I don't know. I'm sure it's an interesting piece of information. It will have an effect on how it all rolls out. But I heard another comment that I think this came from that same interview, that Fanatics isn't going to want to wait to get started. So although they're going to, maybe something's going to happen sooner, whatever that is, through some deals with the existing license holders. And again, I'm totally speculating, no information on this whatsoever, but it makes logical sense that if you are a business and you secure these licenses 4 years out, you got a lot of time now to prepare, but almost too much time. You've got some time to maybe make some things happen in the interim.
Right.
Yeah, I'm feverishly looking for a
date.
Yeah, a date, and it's it looks like January 2019, 1991, but it doesn't say when it expires. And I had this problem with whenever I couldn't find like when it ended. They announced it, but they didn't say when it was going to end. So if somebody out there knows, please
Yeah,
say
if anybody
something,
does
because
know, just or has that piece of information, just type in the chat, or
yeah, well, true, very true. But again, Jeremy made a great point, and I
Right.
heard that as well. I mean, once you buy something, your clock is ticking. It's not like it's oh, you don't have to pay us until your licenses kick in. I'm sorry, but I'm sure that they wanted to check as soon as that thing was, and then you've got players that want their game check. So the clock is really ticking. I mean, so to hear, I just there's a lot there. There's a lot of meat and a lot of things to digest, for lack of a better phrase. And I'm constantly trying to find more and more and more and more information and to me, this was like one of those, one more little nugget that like that I am sure during that negotiation process, they said, how much was it for that NHL license again?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that was brought up. Let's see. Yeah, I agree, Kevin. I agree. Just take the entire thing and go back to the Heritage cardboard and the Allen and Ginter cardboard and just go way back to those. That would be really cool.
One thing, Brad, one thing I want to say just about, the timeline and the fact that, Fanatics is they got 4 years, whatever it is.
Right.
There's going to be so much. And here we are, you're searching for information, right? We're trying to figure out what's
awful.
We are in a position right now as content creators.
There you go.
We are in probably the best position we've ever been in, because we know now that for the next 4 or 5 years, there is going to be a steady stream. Our content pipeline is as full as it's ever been. There's just going to be one thing after another happening in the hobby, and because of the Fanatics announcements, that we're primed for. We won't need to do
time for overload, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything. Maybe it's for lack of a better phrase, the voyeurism or I gotta know. This great big huge unknown that's out there, and my collector's need to fulfill, and my completionist that's like, there's something out there that I can't finish. I need to know. Yeah. Let's see what else we had. Let's see. Really wish.
Yeah, the draft day photos on Young Guns.
Yeah, especially with the new series coming up in November. I think it's November 4th. Flagship's supposed to be released.
It's kind of a little bit what you touched on with John the other day when you guys were talking, when I popped into your guys' stream, when you guys were talking about the kind of going back to that photo thing, right? Like more of the close-up photos, like we kind of went to like the Ken Griffey iconic card, the 84 Don Mattingly card, where it's just kind of that close-up shot. In football, where you hardly ever see the players with their helmets off, right? Or in close-up, it's always an action shot. They always got something on, like the 89 score was something that was brought up, I think that's kind of in that same nature of that draft day, getting drafted photo and like the Young Guns. So I think a lot of people miss those type of shots, those photo shots on the cards.
It just has me thinking, guys, total like just collector thread here. But when I was younger, opening packs of cards, and I was busting packs of all the sports in the 80s, I like that the Mattingly Donruss rookie didn't appeal to me as much. I wanted action shots in my cards. Portrait cards made me think, well, wait a second, these guys are athletes. There's action. I want the action shots. And but as we grow older as people, we come, our tastes change, they evolve, maybe they mature a little bit, whatever the word is. Right. And now I've found that I've come to really enjoy and appreciate these portrait type of cards, whether it's the Griffey or the Mattingly, or the Barry Sanders, or the Barry Sanders score, all the way back to the original like T206 portrait shots and all that sort of thing.
Right.
So,
Right.
one good example is kind of the 33 Gaudi, the Babe Ruth. You've got the yellow background number 53, where it's his head in the back, and then you've got, I forget the number, but where he's standing on the pitcher's mound, right? And you've got the more of an action shot.
Yep.
I like the portrait now much more.
Yeah,
You got the close up of the face, but back when I was younger, I would have liked the other one.
Well, I think part of that might be, and who knows? There's a lot of factors, like you said, maturity, etc., and some of that might be led to too. Like we constantly are getting the action. Like all we're seeing most of the times is the action shots, right? On any card we open, any pack, any product, hockey, football, basketball, soccer, whatever. So yeah, I agree.
I mean, last year, hockey did their Upper Deck did the tuxedos as a short print. Well, that'd be cool if they did like a throwback facial, like full for a short print, or even an SSP or anything like that to give us something of a variety. That'd be a cool change.
What year Bowman in baseball was it where they wore like the suits, like the corny suits, like the Riviera? Mariano Riviera, I think that was his rookie year. There's an iconic one, and he's wearing just this colorful, goofy, like Miami Vice style, like suit kind of. Yeah. It was Bowman. It was I want to say it was 89, maybe.
Well, think about Pro Set. One of my favorite things about Pro Set is you didn't just have the athletes; you had the athletes and their wives. You had them in their daily lives. You had that. To me, back then, I hated those. Because why do I want a picture of a player's wife? Why do I want a picture of them cooking? Why do I want a picture of like a turkey? But now, give me a picture of a turkey, man.
There was a set that Upper Deck did. I think it was 92 or 93 Upper Deck hockey, where there was several cards. The images were so the players would play the game. At the end of the game, they'd go in the dressing room, get into their street clothes, and then the photographers came in and took pictures of them. So you see them leaning up in their jeans and shirts against their stall in the locker room.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I'm like, those are, looking back, they're kind of cheesy. I don't hate them, but I still am like, I don't know. That's not what I'm looking for in a sports card. I want now it's either the portrait or the action shot.
Yeah.
It's like isn't it Mariano Rivera's rookie? Is that
that he's standing there
talking about, right?
Yeah,
he's leaning up.
Yes, like a Miami Vice, like some colorful, weird, goofy or something.
That's not a rookie card that you're proud of if you're Mariano Rivera, right?
Right. But now it's like, it's kind of a fun, like, kind of pack search, like, because going back as like that card, like, hey, rip a box of that. Let's see if we can pull one of those things, like,
and when now he's a Hall of Famer of Yakov talks about the Piazza rookie in that set. I know that card where he's crouched down in catcher's stance, and that's a lot better than the Rivera.
Oh yeah,
there you go. Chipper's cool in that one too. So I mean, we're talking about just stuff that's absolutely unique and different, and I would love to see, we've got it, like, you have to go to the rookie like debut and they do all the pictures. Why in uniform? I mean, think about it. We're now going into the NIL or the non-licensed era. Why are you using airbrushed shots when you've got this whole like plethora of ideas to do? Go back to the old Pro Set stuff and go to the old, like, do you need to have them in an action shot to do non-licensed stuff? I don't know. It would be interesting to see how the market reacts, especially to what Pro Set did. And I keep going back to Pro Set because in my head,
I keep picturing the Trevor Lawrence, like the Pro Set this year's Trevor Lawrence, where he's in like the orange T-shirt or whatever with the ball back with his hair just kind of back.
That is such a cool card. I mean, and if you think there's an NFL player in Score where his hair's like all out and all he's doing is just running.
Right.
Just really cool stuff. Really.
I just found a card I want to show on my phone. I want to show you guys that because I saw I guess Yakov mentioned Chipper Jones. So you think about the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle and just how iconic it is. I think this card here
Yes.
comes so close to not replicating it because this is such a wider angle,
Right.
But I think this card, I think, doesn't get the love it deserves purely on aesthetics, the classic pose he's in, and just the simple beauty of the card with the nice thick white border.
Yeah,
this is the 91 Bowman. To me, this should, I know he probably has cards that are rookies that are more valuable, but this one to me is his by far as the this card. I think in a PSA 10, you can get this for maybe under $100, like under 130 probably for sure. But it is, how is that not an iconic looking card right there?
Just a great shot too.
Just an amazing card.
Yeah, there's so much that can be done. So much that can be done as opposed to sticking us. And yes, it's more cost effective to pick the shots out of Getty or whatever license. Yes, it's more cost effective to do that. But let's go back to what was alleged or assumed is that Topps lost the license due to its lack of creativity. I mean, it hasn't been come out and said, but for a long time, hobbyists have said there's no creativity in the hobby. So
I don't believe that's the reason at all.
I understand. I understand. That's why I qualified, and that I've read and people have said. So but a lot of hobbyists have said there's been a lack of creativity in the hobby.
Well, you always get the same shot, different cards, right? Everybody does it. Panini does it. They zoom in a little bit more. They zoom out. The same photo. You see the exact same.
Yeah. And if you really want to, I'm gonna say this, and I'm actually gonna compliment you, Jeremy, and do a little heartfelt touch here. The interview that you had with Brian Gray couldn't have come at a more heartwarming time for me, because that was the night that my dad passed. And Brian Gray, I hope you're watching. I really hope you're watching. And if you're not, somebody please tell Brian what I'm about to say. That conversation that you had with him is going to mean so much for me along the way, because of the timing, and because that's what it's a couple of dudes just talking baseball, just talking hobby. I'm getting a little weepy, but I can't help it. Sometimes it happens. But go watch that freaking conversation, because my point is that Brian's take on non-licensed stuff goes completely a different direction, where Bobby says won't go down without a fight. Well, a buddy of mine that I've had a long time in the hobby, Tom, was talking about what's going to happen that last year and busting out, and Topps going, forget you. We're going to print that. We're going to do this, and we don't care if it's licensed or unlicensed. We're going to use the logos. So there's that whole please go back and watch that.
I mean, we know how to get to Jeremy's thing, but maybe post a link to the specific one for the
I'm gonna go find it. Y'all text amongst yourselves real quick.
So let me just see what cannot believe Topps. I'm just trying to see if there's anything in here. How do we feel about borders on cards? Better with or without? Jeremy, what's your take? You like cards with or without borders?
With. I mean, I love some without. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a with. As far as it's just so much more traditional to have a border on a card. It frames the image. I remember when Stadium Club first came out. I think those might have been some of the first borderless cards. It made mainstream kind of base set sort of thing, and they were amazing at the time. I think a card, but design.
Right.
I like both, but if I had to pick, if we could only have one way going forward, I would definitely say borders. It just allows for more design elements, I believe.
And I think, and I'll just kind of touch on it too. And I think we just go right back to kind of him showing that chipper card, and saying the looks of that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can be very simple. Almost simple is almost better, right? And someone had touched on Topps Stadium Club as far as getting those photo shots and whatever else, Maybe if Topps Stadium Club took a different approach and maybe they did that same that same, awesome imagery, photo, whatever, and maybe did like a redesign. I know they're trying to be known for that non-border thing, but hey, who's to say you can't? The brand or the set of the card is not called Borderless Club or whatever. You know what I mean? So maybe they take a different approach. We got a bunch.
I found it. I put it in the chat. So please, go watch it. It's fast. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
Pop up Rex just put up a thing about something about what Ivan said at the industry summit.
Let's see. We should stop saying unlicensed and airbrush. Lots of Bowman cards, airbrush. Prism is currently licensed. But yeah, I mean, there's not a great way to say it other than
what it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's see, and then we got Theodore. It's not investors. Let me I kind of want to talk about this for just a second. Okay. There is a pure investor side to this. And you've got vendors and you've got dealers and you got all these terms. But remember, even at the heart of every single investor, every single dealer, there is some form of wanting to collect. At least in everything, and this is my opinion, this is in every conversation that I had, there's still something that makes you want to make that purchase. Mm-hmm. There's still something that says, hey, I think this is cool, or I think this isn't cool. And yes, probably about 1% to 2% of investors are pure in it for the money. But gosh, remember, like, I don't know whether you can call myself a dealer or investor. And honestly, I quite don't care. I still have a PC. I still collect. I still have a small, like, stored of cards that I keep. So while we all say that there's investors, most investors are still collectors at heart. Just remember that when you're throwing out that investor word. That's my. Let me get off my soapbox now, and that's. It bothers me when people just label somebody just investors.
And at the end of the day, like, I think it goes back to just about anything and everything, right? It's what I say it all the time, but it's what you want to make out of it. It's what it is for you. It's not what other people are doing. It's your approach and what you're doing. You can. Why can't it be your hobby? Whether you see there's 70, if you think it's 70 or 80% investors, whatever. The cards are still there. The chase is still there for you. However you approach the hobby is still there. You can still do it. Yes, we can start throwing in the other things of jacked up prices and whatever, but then you just got to find different ways to collect, right? If you used to be able to buy boxes and you can't afford to buy boxes now maybe you got to do the chase a different way where you're going on eBay and you're searching for the singles, or you're doing this or you're doing that. There's always a way. There's always an approach. And again, it goes back to more or less shift the focus more back on yourself and what you're doing and how you're doing it, and not concern yourself so much as far as what others are doing.
One comment I'll make on Theodore's comment is, at the end, he says 30 years ago, you never heard the term flip when it comes to singles. Well, I don't know about that so much, because flipping cards, and maybe the term flip is new, but I mean, we add new words into our lexicon on a regular basis, so that doesn't offend me whatsoever. But buying and selling cards has been around since the beginning of time. So it's not a new phenomenon. And the fact that 75% of the new investors. So that's a pretty specific number, 75%. Like, where, I don't know what the number is. I don't think Theodore does either, but it's more of an estimate when he says 75%. But the reason why I raise that point is I've heard people recently say that they got in for the money and they stayed for the collecting. Mm-hmm. And that's what, a year and a half, just over a year ago, when this whole thing was blowing up, I remember having those thoughts saying, you know what, I don't care how we as a hobby access more people, or how more people and why they enter the hobby. A lot of them are going to come in and fall in love with it, just like all of us hardcore lifers did. right?
Yep.
They are. And there's going to be the people that invest, maybe get a bad taste in their mouth because they buy in at the wrong time, at the height, and they're going to leave. But you know what? They were never going to come in anyway. So that's a net sum zero game anyway. We are still, the hobby is still growing, regardless of what people think about the investor mindset, because again, people are coming in, they're falling in love with these awesome pieces of cardboard, and they're staying in. And again, those that came in and left, we never had them in the first place. So who cares? No big deal. Nothing lost from the hobby's perspective.
Right.
All right. So I got to do it because Jeff opened the door. You do you, boo.
Exactly. There you go. You got to hear at least once a show. Drop
Exactly. Let's see. Vintage is there's something about that niche. You can really feel the passion. They buy all different grades. Yes, I 100% agree with this. It's what you're finding, and Jeremy made a great point of this. They find something that they fall in love with, or like those patches, Jeremy. Those patches are sick. Those are sick, man. I'm sitting here going, okay, I got to find one of those. I got to find one. Like, how cool will it be to have like a Texas tee for me as a Ranger fan, or a Dallas Stars or a Dallas Cowboys logo, or even to go back, how about a Dallas Texans? Is there a Dallas Texans, something like that? You know, there is a love that is being shown in the hobby, and it just, you do you, boo. All right.
And I want to go back. I want to just say one real quick thing, and we can move on beyond that flip term or flipping, whatever. And that's another thing too, that I don't know if people really see it or realize it. And everybody's got their own opinions and sees things different ways. But just remember, like, a lot of us collectors, like, we utilize like the other cards we get, whether it's trades, whether it's from ripping packs, ripping boxes, whatever. We sell those cards to then enhance, get more cards that we want, or we collect, or we PC. Now, a lot of people can come at you, whether you've sold 3 cards in your time of your collecting, or you've sold PC, or whether it's to just make money.
And if there was nobody out there flipping,
right,
the hobby the hobby would be stale, boring, and no one would get new cards. So we that's why breakers, you know, they get a tough rap from a lot of people. Well, no breakers, very few cards get released into the world for us singles collectors.
Can't afford to buy a box of national treasures and this and that.
Right. It's all all these different types of approaches are a part, an integral part of the hobby ecosystem. So, you know, when we see whatever negativity kind of thrown at one group or another, and I'm not talking about fraudsters and bad actors. I'm talking about, you know, genuine, honest, good people, whatever approach they're taking, you know, you kind of got to look at the big picture, I think, and say, what happens if those people leave the hobby? Well, and I know a lot of traditionalists would be like, oh, it'll go back to the way it was in the 80s and the 70s, which a lot of people miss those days. But I mean, that's just not realistic, right? Times they are a changing. So
yeah. And what's the point of having card shows and nationals? Yes, you get the people side to meet and you can trade and all that, but a lot of it is to go there and find cards and buy cards. Well, someone's got to sell you those cards that you're looking for, or trade with you. One of the two.
Like Daphne said, you know, I started setting up at card shows in like 2005 because I wanted a way to get more cards and to be able to trade. It wasn't just so I could flip. It was so that I could see more cards, maybe make some profit so I could build my personal collection. And that's what the approach I think a lot of us casual dealers or vendors take.
Right. Here we go. There he is. What's up?
What's up, fellas?
What's up? Good morning.
I wanted to make sure that I got you on, and so that you could make, basically, so I could kick you off midstream is what.
Perfect. What I need to do.
Go ahead.
Enter exit. Well, obviously on the topic, I mean, for myself, I got back into the hobby last February, right before the pandemic hit, and my girlfriend said I needed a hobby, so I got a hobby. But you know, I found that I really, besides my PC, I enjoy the selling aspect because of the relationships you build and just the camaraderie of the hobby. But my real reason for jumping on is I have a question for Jeremy.
Uh-oh. Well, bye. I'll talk to you later.
That's messed up, man. That's messed up. I love the podcast. I watch the show when I can, but I mostly listen to the podcast when I'm working. So I appreciate that. And
Thank you.
I know Brad pretty well here, but have you ever seen with your own eyes, touched, felt the Jason Spezza that doesn't exist, Young Gun from 2001? I need to know if it's real.
It is. I do. I have a friend that has one locally here. Yeah.
Is there any way I can see a picture of one? I just want to see a picture of one.
Yeah.
I've tried forums.
I can ask him to text me a picture of it.
My PC is hockey. I only collect hockey. That's it. A few Pokemon cards with the kids, but mostly hockey. So anyways, I've been collecting hockey since I was 15 years old. I grew up in Texas. Not a whole lot of hockey here when you're 15 years old. But I remember, falling in love with hockey because of the 94 finals, Rangers and Vancouver Canucks. Fell in love with Pavel Bure, became a Russian hockey guy. Anyways, throughout my life, I moved all over this country, but I had the pleasure to live in North Dakota for 11 years. Yeah, I saw those earlier.
Those are Pavel Bure's.
Well, those are Bure's. Those are the Ovechkins earlier, right?
Yeah, I showed the Ovechkins earlier. Yeah.
Well, anyways, I had the pleasure of going to the Russia-Canada gold medal game for the World Juniors up there. It was my Christmas present, and me being a Russian hockey fan, I was rocking my Malkin Medalgorsk or whatever it was, Russian jersey, and the Canadian fans were very kind to me. Especially as it became a 6-1 blowout.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, one of the best things. Yes, sir. What's up?
JP this is a classic example. I mean, I met JP at the East Texas Card Show, and it was his first time behind the table that I met him, and we've just, I don't know, it's been kind of a kinship. We just kind of have been talking back and forth, and we did show together, and it's a friendship that continues to grow. But it started out of your first experience behind the table.
Absolutely.
And had we not had that, or had he not taken that risk, we wouldn't have been we wouldn't be chatting. We wouldn't even know each other. So, I mean, that's the point that I'm trying to make with everybody is be kind to one another.
Don't even go back. Yeah, even go back to to Jeremy's gold mine that he got this collector's collection that he bought. If you remember what he said earlier, is he basically, he could have came across another way, but it was kind of a connection thing, right? Someone that he knew, or he'd worked with him over time, and the guy was okay. Well, maybe I'm ready to sell it, and thought about him and going back. So again, yeah, like you said, it's all about it. Like Mr. Newman always says, right? And I think a lot of us kind of live by this. Hobby is the people, right?
That's right.
About building relationships and friendships, and cards are secondary. They're there.
For sure.
Well, speaking of cards, JP, what have you busted lately?
Let's see. I opened up some WNBA Prism.
Okay, why?
Well, that's. I think
Be honest.
There's an opportunity there that I don't get to open a lot of product because there's nothing ever on the shelves here. We really don't have an LCS here at all. So it's like I was in Walmart and I was like, $35 for a blaster of women's basketball. What's the worst that can happen? So I made a little video called "What's It Worth?" or "Was it worth it?"
Well, was it worth it?
It wasn't. I mean, you got some parallels, and I don't really know much about the WNBA, but it was fun to open and something to do. I open more Pokemon than anything.
Yeah. Any plans to TTM those, or to send them off for autographs, or maybe something like that?
My TTM is all hockey. That's all I do is the canvas upper deck cards. I think I showed you. No, I was intended to get Madonna to sign one at the Dallas show, but that line was nuts. So I'm like, I'm not. I'll catch you next time, Madonna.
The Medano line was the busy line at the Dallas Card
It
Show.
was like
It
for
is.
autographs. It was like unbelievable. Like when we went back in, what was it, November, when Canseco was there, and Palmero, like there was like 4 people in the Canseco line, and he was super nice. I was surprised. He was one of the, even with the COVID protocols, he was willing to take a picture with people and chat it up. But
yeah, he was that way at the East Texas Card Show last weekend. He was, dude, that guy's a freaking Hulk.
he is.
That guy's still a Hulk.
He looks exactly like he did in his 88 Donruss or whatever, with his score with his muscles ripping out.
Yeah, his muscles were almost as big as my waist. So that'll tell you. I mean, he is a Hulk. But he was super, super nice, taking pictures with everybody. So yeah, I didn't know what you'd opened lately. So I didn't get to see it at the last show.
No, son's got football, so my Saturdays are pretty booked until end of next month. So.
Yep. Anything else you'd like to aggravate Jeremy with? So.
No, man, just keep up the good stuff. I mean, you guys are doing your thing, doing great. I try to catch Brad live every time I have a chance. I don't have any kids today, so I'm actually like able to watch the show today. So it's been a while. I'm normally,
dude, no kids, man.
Yeah, it's a bye week for football and no kids, so I get to enjoy my morning.
Are you on Instagram at all?
Yes, sir. And
throw me a DM just so I can share that picture with you once my buddy sends it over.
Sure, will do. I appreciate it. I just that's been like my fantasy card, for my entire adult life. I'm trying to see. I mean, it spanned his whole career, and I still have yet to see one. So
yeah,
I know there was a few others.
There's a few others from that set. I think I heard there's like under 20 that ever leaked out. I think, but I have a buddy who chased these pretty feverishly to get the whole set, and he has it. So I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, someday I really plan to. Hopefully, we get back to normal. I want to go to the Toronto Expo more than anything.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to
go to Toronto. Can't wait to see you guys up. I'd love to see some of you guys come up to that show.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Winnipeg because I lived on the border of North Dakota and Canada, so that was like an hour and a half away. So
I love Toronto. So anytime I get a chance to go back, that in Calgary, I love Calgary.
Calgary,
yeah,
Calgary.
We just call it Calgary here, but yeah,
right.
Sister city to Dallas. Yeah,
I want to see you in Saskatchewan.
There you go. Nova Scotia.
Well, thank you guys for
so
letting me on.
We appreciate you, JP. We're gonna get to these final comments real quick.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care,
Appreciate
man.
you.
All right,
Thanks.
sir.
Talk to you later. Thanks for calling in.
Yep.
All right, so let's see. No, I'm not going to kick him. I'll let him do his own. All right, so we've got a comment here. This a little. You can't see.
You can't keep them out. You can try to do whatever you want to do. You're not keeping them out of the
I'll just
frame
sit up
here.
straighter.
Let's see. My first business started in 4th grade. Man, isn't that the truth? 89.90 was selling cards out of my locker at a boys' school. That's awesome. I was the only kid who went to shows, all the Beckett's, several mags, sold singles, top loaders, penny sleeves, every snap down, screw downs, ran it through the 8th grade, switched, and it's, man, this is so me all the way.
I mean, you're either selling cards or you're selling like those sour ball candy gall things. Your mom would take you to Sam's Club and you get the big container and then you put them in a big Ziploc baggie and he'd be like the candy man on school campus, right? Selling them $0.25 a pop, building up your little fun savings account. Oh yeah.
Yeah, my brother would sneak off campus. There was a gas station across from the middle school, and he would sneak off campus and go to the service station. Tells you how old I am. I'm using the word service station. And go buy GPK cards and then go back, sneak back onto the campus, open up the pack and sell them there at the school, man. So yeah, I know exactly what you all are talking about. Let's see. Mark Murphy, baseball card kid, smart guy, got out, warehouse burned down, wish you got it. I don't know whatever happened to Howard's Collectibles. That's a good question for text or ask Rich on Saber Geek on Twitter. He can definitely answer that question. And
Clint,
what up? Got to give you a what up, man.
What
Got to
up,
give you
Clint?
that what up. Crazy how the hobbies changed. Couldn't give well, yeah, you couldn't. And then let's see. We can't let the behavior of others destroy peace. So your peace of mind that counts. Boy, Bobby, you are dead on with that,
Right.
man. You are dead on with that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Just again, it's going back to what we kind of said earlier. Just, focus more on your approach and how you want to collect and how you're collecting, and less on how other people are doing it or their approach. I think sometimes we just let, and this is everything in life, I think sometimes we just let too many outside things interfere or get under our skin when there's really no reason or bearing for it to even have an impact on how we approach or how we feel or whatever. Just again, switch that focus more back on how you're doing your things and focus on you. I think you'll be happier.
Yeah,
my 2
go
cents.
ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I'm just looking at Bobby Burrell's comment there at the bottom. Is that, I think, like that?
Yeah.
That's really good advice right there. And I think part of it is, again, like was said earlier, you've got to just look at what you're doing, what makes you happy in the hobby. We talk about the people, and the people are the hobby. That applies, I'd say, like 97% of the time, because sometimes some of the people in the hobby can be very offensive and bothersome, and can make your experience, can take away from your experience, because let's face it, there are those sorts of people out there too. But I think it's a small percentage of the time. So and when that happens, it's very easy, and it's within your right to stop having them in your life, whatever way that is, right? By blocking, by unfollowing, by unsubscribing. It's like, do what it takes to, because we all have our mental health. We all have other areas of our life. But many of us have families to look after and kids to be strong for, and that sort of thing. And if someone else is sort of negatively impacting your experience in the hobby, it's a good tool to be able to say, as Bobby says, just don't let that bother you. But sometimes you have to take some actions to make sure that it doesn't bother you.
Right.
Yeah. That's any other final thoughts that we got? I don't know.
A little over an hour. I think we're good.
Yeah, that's some. I like ending on some positiveness. So that's some good positiveness. I've got all sorts of new words today.
Yeah. Oh, it was a good chat today, guys. Thank you for that.
No, I appreciate it. Sometimes not. It's just not all about the cards. It's about other things. It's about sports and friendships and connections and the love of the hobby. So just doing it a little different when you do you, boo. So there's the second time I get it in. All right, guys. So we're out. Y'all have a fantastic Saturday.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Behave and just be kind to one another. Bye.
See ya.